The Life, Death, and Resurrection of Disney Channel, a completely subjective viewpoint. To understand my viewpoint, you must understand that I grew up during the supposed golden era of Disney Channel, so for those who might say you didn't grow up with the classics, your argument doesn't hold much weight. With that said, let's begin. The earliest I can recall watching Disney Channel was around the time Sweet Life, Naturally Sadie, and Life with Derek were the newest shows, so around 2005. I loved these shows and still do to this day, Naturally Sadie being a particular favorite of mine. I soon became familiar with the classics, such as the out-there concepts of That's So Raven to the underrated gems such as Phil of the Future, The Buzz on Maggie, and Dave the Barbarian. I even remember sitting in the middle of the living room when That's So Sweet Life of Hannah Montana premiered. You could imagine how excited I was as a little kid. To make a long story short, I loved mid-2000s Disney Channel. However, I started to notice certain changes with the network. The concepts became more and more ridiculous, yet somehow more boring, the singing was starting to crop up more and more. The desire to be famous was getting bigger with each passing year. I didn't see it when it first started, but I completely caught on soon after. That's when we entered the early 2010s. The 2010s. What can I say? I do not care what anyone says. To this very day, I think 2010 to 2014 is Disney Channel's worst period and no one could convince me otherwise. In my mind, it was dead and buried. With the exception of Good Luck Charlie, Liv, and Maddie, Girl Meets World, and the Mickey Mouse shorts, everything from that period was, and still is, trash. That's right, utter trash. Fish Hooks, which is still Disney Channel's worst cartoon, Shake It Up, Ant Farm, Jessie, So Random, Austin, and Ally, Prank Stars, Code 9, Dog with a Blog, On Occasions, and I Didn't Do It. Gravity Falls and Wander Over Yonder were alright, though. What's interesting is I was still part of their target audience at that point and I found it bad even back then. Anyways, I did not like this era at all and I felt that Disney Channel needed a change. Fortunately, they did. Around 2013 to 2014, Liv and Maddie and the Mickey Mouse shorts were getting off the ground and the older shows, such the aforementioned Fish Hooks, Shake It Up, and Ant Farm were ending. So Random, Prank Stars, and Code 9 had unceremoniously ended the year prior, which I had no problem with. Unfortunately, Good Luck Charlie came to an end, but it lived a good life. Granted, Jessie and Austin and Ally were still on, but I dealt with it. They also changed the logo and the wand IDs during this time. Instead of it being set on a white background, they were set in random locations and were all done in one take. I did not like them at first, but grew to be accustomed to it. The future looked bright. Jumping to 2015, we are introduced to 3 new shows, Casey Undercover, Bunked, and Best Friends Whenever, and are met with the end of Dog with a Blog. We'll get to Bunked when we talk about current Disney Channel, but for now, we'll talk about Casey and Best Friends Whenever. Casey was alright, I guess. It was just there. Only really watched it when nothing else was on. Not even that, to be honest. As for Best Friends Whenever, I was initially gravitated towards it because I'm a sucker for anything time travel related. I watched it and it was meh. I knew it was bad, but not the worst of the worst, so I lived with it. I didn't really have much of a reaction when it finally ended. Around this time, Jessie finally ended, so that was good. Moving on to 2016 and we are met with Stuck in the Middle and Bizaardvark. I absolutely love Stuck in the Middle to this day and despised Bizaardvark. It was around this time that I started to pay less attention to Girl Meets World. I still tuned in, but I started to care less about it. Austin and Ally came to an end, which was nice. Even though I recognized that Disney Channel was getting better, it was still meh overall. There really needed to be a big shake-up. Something to spearhead a revolution. Fortunately, 2017 was right around the corner. Wow. Just wow. At the time, this year was probably the best year in all the 2010s. Andy Mack, Raven's Home, and the DuckTales reboot were just what the network needed. A family drama, a revival/sequel series, and a long-needed cartoon. My interest was completely revitalized. Bunked was on hiatus during this time, which I had no problem with. Meanwhile, Liv and Maddie followed the Hannah Montana route and changed the location and name of the show in its final season. However, the former did it loads better. It came to an end and I felt that it was the right time. 2018 came around and this year is what I like to call the animation renaissance. 3 new cartoons debuted that year. Big City Greens and Star Wars Resistance, followed by Big Hero 6, the series jumping from Disney XD to Disney Channel. Stuck in the Middle ended that year, which was sad. Also, the Wandides got an overhaul.
Hey, I'm Olivia Sanabia from Coop and Cami Ask the World, and you're watching Disney Channel. I just did that.
They reverted back to the white background and the one-take routine was gone, which was nice. Coop and Cami came out as well and, I'll admit, I haven't watched that much of it. I can't comment on it just yet. 2019 came around and, I'll say it, this is, without a doubt, the best year in the entire decade. Disney Channel was truly alive, kicking, and better than ever. Sydney to the Max, Fastlane, and Just Roll With It made their debuts and all were great. Sydney centers around a girl living her life in the present, while simultaneously, focuses on her dad's life when he was her age. Fastlane centers around a girl and a mystery surrounding a sentient car named Vin. Just Roll With It is a first for the network and, possibly, a first for television. It is half sitcom, half improv. Basically, the studio audience gets to decide on what happens in scenes and the cast has no idea what they voted on or when in the scene it's going to happen. I'm a fan of all 3 of them. Then, they still kept the animation ball rolling with Amphibia, which was good. It's a decent show, I'll admit. Remember earlier when I said that we'll talk about Bunked? Let's talk about it now. I absolutely hated the first 2 seasons. Unlikable characters, idiotic plots, you name it, I probably hate it. Then, when it came back from its hiatus, something happened. I still didn't like it, but it moved from hate to a light dislike. Part of that could be due to the 3 new characters, Destiny, Finn, and Mateo. I loosened up a bit. Season 4 came around and, I'm just going to say it right now, it blew the previous seasons out of the water. It's not even halfway over and already it's taken the top spot. Finally, it lost its connection to Jesse. The Ross kids left. Instead, we are introduced to 3 new characters, Ava, Gwen, and Noah. I liked them already and still do. The plots are still hit and miss, but the cast are charismatic enough to keep me interested. Everything was good. Overall, I'd say that over the past 2 years, Disney Channel has grown for the better. They finally dug themselves out of the hole they put themselves into at the beginning of the decade. I'm truly proud of them and I hope they can continue their success with their future projects. What do you think? Leave your thoughts down below in the comments.